Rising, that's new.
They're coming in from the
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Dylan, here.
Just another minute.
Okay, thank you. Somebody else. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome. Hope I can get through this. Okay. Dylan, you're there? Luke, are you there? Okay, thanks. Ken, are so appreciative that you are here with us this evening as we celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary. And indeed, so much the reason that we're celebrating our 50th anniversary and our 50 years together is because of your friendship and your support over the years. Each and every one of you is so special to us. And we are also very appreciative that 4 members of our 1962 wedding party are here as well. Just give a wave. Doug Curry, our best man. His best man, our best man. 3 of my 4 bridesmaids, Dale Curry and Ken's sisters, give a wave, Betty and Margaret. We thank our family and friends who have come from Tennessee, Louisiana, Georgia, Kansas, Florida, and Maryland. And we thank you, our family of friends in New York. And a special gratitude to the artistry of Chris Child for the piano, Love Wooten and the flowers, and Agnes Hassel for her amazing cakes. She has to love you in order to do one, trust me. And our son, Kevin, for the dancing music to come. These gifts to us assured us that this would be the beautiful evening that we wanted, both in sight and sound. It's hard to capture a half-century of marriage in a few minutes. Although it seems as if our 50 years of marriage has been only a few minutes. But here's my top 10 as we celebrate this golden milestone. For more than 50 years, I've been the beneficiary of Ken's enduring unpretentiousness. Yes, I've tried to dress him up over the years, and yes, he didn't pay attention to me tonight when I asked him to shine his shoes, but his favorite meal is still, in spite of all the wonderful restaurants in the world we've gone to, his favorite meal is still a New York hot dog from a street vendor. And his beverage of choice always has been, always will be, is still Pepsi. Well, now it's Diet Pepsi. Who said Ken was impervious to change? And Ken, I've even brought your favorite cup this evening that you have always chosen over my crystal and silver. Mercifully, the advertisement for septic service is a little rubbed off. I'm not kidding. Yet I think his lack of pretension is what both touched me and attracted me from the start. His willingness, those many years ago in Memphis, to drive to the other side of the town, Ken knows the exact number of traffic lights, and the other side of the tracks to pick me up on a date. His acceptance of my very humble circumstances, and his ability to see something in me that I don't think I saw in myself. Well, how could I resist that? Secondly, I've been the beneficiary of his loyalties. One wife, one house, one job, one team, even though that one team, the Yankees, has been my main rival for his time, his interest, and his concern. Thirdly, needless to say, I've been the beneficiary of Ken's great intellect, his endless curiosity, and wonderful sense of humor. As so many of you know, he is a walking encyclopedia of knowledge, past and present. He makes me laugh like no other. But better yet, Ken also possesses the invaluable ability to laugh at himself. Fourthly, I've also been the beneficiary of his immense caring and compassion. In addition to being my husband and best friend, Ken has had to serve as the mother, the father, the sibling I never had. Needless to say, that was a little bit more than he bargained for. But his sensitivity goes beyond me. He tears easily when he sees suffering and the human condition, whether in the movies or in the newspapers. He fights easily, a little too easily, when he sees the vulnerable threatened, whether in the streets or in the subway. He shares with me an active concern for the less fortunate. Fourthly, I'm also the beneficiary of Ken's unvarnished honesty. He has been and still is my most ardent admirer, but he's also my most severe critic, as I am of him. Needless to say, that's been a little testy at times. A lot of tears have flown on my part, but he's always been right, to be honest with you. Together in 50 years, we were able to build a life from scratch, as so many of us have tonight, and a life that has far exceeded expectations. And with the support of so many of you here this evening, we were also able to rebuild a life after our son's death in 1984. We have shared the same interests and adjusted when they differed. Because of Ken, I have a working knowledge of battlefields, slums, and cemeteries. Because of me, he has enjoyed the beauty of Spain and Greece, and a remote control for our garage door. In our 50 years, we've respected each other's need to have separate identities, and also each other's different time warps. Ken, as so many of you know, is either in the past or the future. I am totally in the present. Number 9, we have shared our deepest love for our 2 children, our great pride in our amazing son, Kevin, who is one of the most good human beings we know, and our abounding joy in our exceptional, talented and gifted and beautiful grandchildren, Dylan, Shannon, and Luke, Kenneth, Carl. Jackson. Finally, we have certainly made mistakes in the past 50 years with each other and with others, and we regret that. But one mistake I did not make 50 plus years ago was going against my beloved grandmother's admonition never to get married because, quote, men were no damn good. But I chose to spend the one life I have to live with Kenneth Terry Jackson, for better and for worse, till death do us part. So Ken, thank you for this party, totally your idea. Thank you for your name that you gave me 50 years ago. Thank you for the term of endearment that you gave me more than 50 years ago, B-Bear. Happy anniversary, Ken.
Never a good idea to speak second in a case like this, as you well know. So let me see where I am. By the way, typically, Barbara wrote her remarks out and had them done a couple of weeks ago, and I was working last night at midnight trying to put something together. So here we go. Not so long ago, I was at a wedding. Barbara was somewhere else. And, it was a former student of mine, and I gave a toast, and I mentioned the fact that while they were obviously in love and looking forward joyously to their life together, that they could have no idea what lay ahead for them. You know, it's going to be a long road, and there's no way you could see ahead of it. And it made me think about how is it that, you know, engagements are short and marriages can be long, and sometimes they seem to work out. That you make a judgment or a guess based on not a hell of a lot of evidence, and you roll the dice and see what happens. Now, I met Barbara 52 years ago when we were in college, and I was thinking, what were the qualities in her that I was smart enough to recognize that would make her a terrific life partner. First, as any man, I noticed that she was good looking. I mean, you got to start with that. If that doesn't spark something, then the rest of it. But second of all, I learned quickly that she was smart. In fact, we met at the induction ceremony of the most prestigious honor society at this college, and I learned fairly quickly that Barbara, in her 12 years of school before college, had never made any grade other than A, and that she was the valedictorian at Southside, and that in college she never made any grade other than an A, except once. She was in a terrible automobile crash and went through a window and was badly hurt and cut and missed a few classes, and one professor refused to credit that as a good excuse and gave her a C, the one grade she ever made. And it was enough to knock her out of graduating first in her college class. It moved her down to number 2, but still higher than I was, which was number 3. That's kind of the way we've been all along. Third, I noticed that Barbara was a hard worker who could overcome adversity. Her parents divorced when she was 2. Her father essentially abandoned her thereafter. Her mother died when she was 10. Barbara was 10. Her mother was 33. Barbara was raised by a single grandmother who ran a little mom and pop grocery store that earned, and I'm not making this up, I've seen the books, $50 a month. That's hard to live on, even in Memphis in the 1950s, so that Barbara had to work for everything. She paid for her own car, her own clothes, her own college expenses. A lot of people would have given up at her stage in life and turned to alcohol or drugs or sex or whatever, but Barbara just doubled down on hard work. And we've decided together that on her tombstone, above her name, this will be the truest words ever spoken, we're going to write, "She tried." Fourth, I knew that Barbara was a goal-oriented, super organized person. Every day she writes down on a piece of paper the things she intends to accomplish that day. She has forever questioned, well, I don't write a list. She never fails. If she makes a promise or a pledge or a commitment, she keeps it. And typically, as I said, she wrote these comments yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, a couple of weeks ago. Fifth, Barbara is honest and generous and decent. And she treats everyone with the same dignity and respect. I have watched her have a conversation with the Queen of England. And I have watched her on our deck sit down with undocumented immigrant day laborers and ask them about their lives and their wives and their challenges and their hopes, usually as she's feeding them or offering them things to drink. She is not one person with the rich and powerful and another person with the poor and the dispossessed. It may be why she's so good at managing our house. When anything goes wrong, first of all, she is a good electrician, so sometimes my contribution is usually to say, do you want me to turn off the power? No, but more than that, when we need an electrician, or we need a plumber, or we need a cabinet maker, or we need a gardener, or we need somebody to fix the furnace or anything, Barbara picks up the phone. But unlike the rest of us, Barbara doesn't pick up the phone, just she calls up a friend. All these people over more than a quarter of a century, she knows them by name, she knows the names of their wives, she knows about their families, and when they come over, they have to have a conversation, unless the toilet's overflowing, something like that. But they come when she calls, and they come very quickly. And she never argues about a bill, she pays her bills. So she's the kind of employer every small businessman wants to have. But these talents are all personal characteristics that really have nothing to do with me. I simply recognized them and took advantage. In fact, I'm sure the question you're all asking yourselves is not why I married Barbara, but why she married me. This is my friend Gina Bardwell. I don't know if Gina's here, but Gina used to always say, it's just a mystery. So I want to do more than just outline her personal characteristics, and I need to say thank you. Thank you for what I estimate to be 15,000 meals at least. Probably more than 10,000 loads of wash. Year after year. And probably 1,000 dinner parties. So other people don't give dinner parties, Barbara does. I need to thank Barbara for putting me through graduate school. I had a prestigious Woodrow Wilson Fellowship for my first year. Anywhere in the world I wanted to go, they'd pay for it in expenses. That was for the first year. What about year two? Well, I was smart enough to get married before year two. So Barbara fed me and paid the rent and did all the other kind of things so that I was able to get my PhD in pretty record time at the University of Chicago. I want to thank Bee Bear for always making it clear to me that she would go anywhere. We, of course, had no idea we would ever wind up in New York. I'd never been to New York when we got married. But even after we were in New York and we were happy and we thought about the University of Chicago or Hopkins or UCLA or Emory, Barbara always said, whatever you decide is okay with me. So for her, it wasn't just whither thou goest, she meant it. Thank you for buying me a wonderful house. We have a very nice house. Barbara paid for it. She worked for more than 30 years as one of the greatest public school teachers in American history. Her record at Bolingbrook High School, they wish they could continue with. But the thing for me was, essentially that paid the mortgage, that paid for the upkeep, that paid for the expansion, that paid for a wonderful life because she did it. And I had hoped as my surprise guest tonight. I would have a student of Barbara's in the 7th grade who's now the president of Barnard College and who very much wanted to come and say hello to her long ago teacher. She had so many commitments, as college presidents do, she couldn't be here. Thank you for sharing my bed, for holding me, for keeping me warm all those dark and lonely and cold nights. Thank you for giving me the two most important things in my life, my sons, who were amazing and close to perfect. And Barbara was the finest mother anybody could ever want to be. And finally, thank you for being with me when tragedy overcame us both. For helping me to stand again. For showing me that there was still a life worth living. And thank you for never once, in all these 28 years, placing the blame where it truly belonged, which was on me. So more than 50 years ago, when Barbara and I first started dating, I thought of this quaint term, B-Bear. I have no idea what I must have been drinking to say that. But somehow it stuck. And I'm so glad that our grandchildren call their grandmother B-Bear. That term, and they're so young they never knew it was a weird name. So anyway, I'm glad that B-Bear started along that path that we don't know where it's going to take us with me 50 years ago. And if I have one life to live and one wedding to have and one 50th anniversary, I'm glad it was with her, and I would do it all again. In fact, I wish we could start 50 years ago and do it all again. So it's been a wonderful life. Thank you so much.
And please enjoy. We have dancing. Kevin has really made a wonderful playlist for our favorite